So at the end of this, it's going to be a silver standard, not necessarily a gold standard. Going back to gold would be better where we are now. But the real end of the inflationary system is when credit is going to collapse. When credit collapses, dollars don't work. And if dollars don't work, none of the other currencies work either, because that's what we say reserve currency, right? That's currency that's in the basement of all these other central banks. So when the dollar falls, all these other currency falls, all credit falls, all credit derivatives, and then you're left with all the purchasing power of all that lost purchasing power gets vacuumed into silver, even more than gold, which is why we're going to go eventually to very near a 15-to-1 ratio, which is the historic exchange ratio, monetary exchange ratio between gold and silver. That's natural economic law.
In recent commentary, Rafi Farber has highlighted what he views as a historic transformation.
It's not that prices are rising. They only seem to rise within the inflationary system, within this illusory system that we're all stuck in, like a prisoner's dilemma, and we're all stuck in it. Prices are actually, they've been going down since 1960s. I mean, if you look at everything priced in money
and gold.
Money, I mean gold and silver, mostly gold, silver secondarily. But if you look at actual prices, they're going down. And so prices are only going up if you insist on maintaining your economic existence within the illusion itself. And you could say, okay, fine. So let's say I want to get out of the illusion and just, take all of my salary and just buy gold with it every month. Well, I understand you can't do that because you need to be liquid, and gold is not as liquid as dollars. It would be if we were on a gold standard, but it's not. So then you could say, so then, we are losing out. But it's not just that prices have been staying stable in gold. They've been falling in almost every category. And anything priced in gold is going down. So even if your dollar salary is less, right, then the amount of gold would keep going down with however much you could put away every month. Let's say you earn like $5,000 a month, and you put, $1,000 a month away or $500 a month away in gold and silver over 20 years, and each month it's less and less gold and silver because they keep going up. But you need less and less gold and silver to even have higher standards of living. So you can live outside of this illusion. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. It's not about stacking and then becoming rich and then using gold and silver to accumulate dollars. We're getting out of the illusion as much as we can. It's like like a drug addict, right? If you're talking to a drug addict, you have to understand how they think, but you can't go completely into their world. But you care for them, so you need to communicate with them in a way that they think that you're on their planet. But it's a very difficult position where we are, because we have to put a leg in the illusion and we have to keep a leg out of it and keep our minds together, which is it's very difficult even for people like us. It's all the more difficult for people who don't understand intuitively with the confidence that gold is actually money, and it still is today. That was the final piece that fell into place for me. That only I think like in 2022 or something like that, when I finally understood, when it finally slipped into place that everything is really based on gold and silver, and this entire pyramid that we're living on, the higher we get on it, the thinner the air gets, and the more insane we become keeping one leg in it while trying to keep one leg out. But we're keeping it together. A lot of people say, and I think they're correct, that we've been talking about the pyramid, right? And gold is at the bottom. But underneath the gold is an even smaller triangle of silver in terms of value. Before gold was money, we talk about gold standard and going back to gold standard, and this is what we have to do. But really, it's not exactly that. It's really going back to silver is what we need to do, or what will be done. I understand that, trading silver coins is not economical in the sense that it's very bulky, and you can't actually exactly do that in today's world. But the human civilization started not on gold, but when we really started global trade and continents started trading, and the Silk Road, and Africa started trading with Asia, and you really got a big economic system going, it was based on silver. What happened in 1873, right, with the crime against silver, or what exactly they call it? I think it was the crime against silver. What happened was, who owned silver back then? It was the poor and the middle class. That's what they used for their money. What did rich people do? How did they store their wealth? They stored it in gold because they had too much silver. They couldn't store it all. And so they had a lot of gold. So what's the best way? If the middle class and the poor, and there's a lot more middle class and poor than there are rich, what's the best way to take purchasing power from the middle class and the poor and give it to the rich? If you're on a silver standard, move to a gold standard, right? That's how you do it. But like, everything that the government does in order to keep the pyramid going is basically a theft of the middle class and the poor, for the favor of the rich. So at the end of this, it's going to be a silver standard, not necessarily a gold standard. Going back to gold would be better where we are now. But the real end of the inflationary system is when credit is going to collapse. When credit collapses, dollars don't work. And if dollars don't work, none of the other currencies work either, because that's what we say reserve currency, right? That's currency that's in the basement of all these other central banks. So when the dollar falls, all these other currency falls, all credit falls, all credit derivatives, and then you're left with all the purchasing power of all that lost purchasing power gets vacuumed into silver, even more than gold, which is why we're going to go eventually to very near a 15-to-1 ratio, which is the historic exchange ratio, monetary exchange ratio between gold and silver. That's natural economic law. We have to go through a reckoning. That's natural law. Like, just as all debts are paid either by paying the debt or defaulting, all theft is paid too. Because when you steal that value, when you make an exchange of two people and they're both benefiting, legitimate, when you steal, one loses at the expense of the other. And so you have a net negative effect on society. So when you have a society that operates through these sorts of theft systems, those thefts and those debts are going to be paid one way or another. Now, I have no dollar figure for where silver is going to go in the end game, but I do believe strongly that the end game bell. How do we know when this is all over? Like, the bell's ringing. Okay, well, the dollar has collapsed. It's going to be at a 15-to-1 gold to silver ratio, one that's relatively stable. I'm not saying like we hit it one day, like in 1980 it happened for a day and a half or something. I'm saying this time it's going to stay that way until we can rebuild a basic economic system again. So it could be a year or two, 3. I don't know, but I'm saying it's going to be stable enough that silver supplies can filter through the economic system, physical silver supplies, and that figuratively and almost literally creates a base of wider silver dispersal where you can rebuild another credit pyramid, hopefully an honest one where all debts are paid and you don't have fractional reserve or however you think the banking system functions. Well, what does the United States look like? I really don't know, which is why, frankly, I don't want to live here. I don't know what Israel's going to look like either. I'd rather be with my people than being here, precisely because I don't know. I would imagine that states could break off from the federal government. The federal government could dissipate, and you could have regions, different regions. Like, if the South had won the Civil War, you'd have the Confederate States and the northern United States. So, break into a few pieces. I think there's going to be serious trouble in the very big cities like in LA, New York, Chicago, Minneapolis, where you're from. These places that are morally rotting, they're not going to do very well. But I think outside of that, you will have Americans, and America will exist. The United States as it exists now, I don't know. I can't say yes. I can't say no. It might reorganize into some looser government or Articles of Confederation-y or something. Or California, New York could cede and then leave the more fiscally responsible states into some other union. It could be anything. I just hope that we get through it with the minimal amount of suffering. We know that communist societies collapse. That's a given. I think we can all agree on that. Eventually they do, because if everyone steals from everyone, then nobody produces anything, which is exactly what happens in hard communism. And then everything falls over. Some people starve, lots of people survive, and then they rebuild. We saw that happen with the Soviet Union. We saw it happen in China, which, they're still communist in name, but they've got free market zones, to survive. But if inflation itself is theft, which it is, then it's a theft of every transaction everywhere, but it clips a little off the top of every single transaction. So it's much slower also because as you produce more, as your society becomes more productive, the theft becomes more and more subtle. But still, even if it does, eventually a society built on theft will collapse. We just don't know exactly when, but it's the same principle because all societies based on theft collapse. right? If you have a society that has theft in it, you can survive that by creating a justice system, creating a penal system to isolate the theft and put it away.